Okay, so today I'm so excited to welcome our guest, Najifa Choudhury, who is a trailblazer in her own right. She's the founder of a supplement and holistic healing company called Dr. Peace Lily. And yeah, welcome, Najifa.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
No, I'm so excited to have you on here. So the way I basically found Najifa is about a year ago. Um, we just stumble across people on Instagram, right? And then I found your profile on Jifa and I was like, oh, she seems cool. She seemed like, someone who owned like her own like holistic healing business. And she was Bangladeshi American, which of course, anyone with Bangladeshi roots who are doing cool things that piques my interest. And I'm like, yes, I need to follow her. So started following you. And I'm like, and after that, we kind of chatted a little bit on Instagram. And I'm like, oh, she's so like personable and nice, and like we had very similar interests too. I loved the content she creates on Instagram as well. I know that you like to inspire people as well. You're really into fitness as well, which is like me as well. So I was like, you know what, gotta have her on the podcast.
Oh,
So excited to have this conversation. And do you want to maybe tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
yeah. So I'm Najifa and I'm a pharmacist by background. I became a pharmacist in 2019. And at the same time, I just got really interested in holistic healing because being a pharmacist, I just witnessed a lot of my patients still not healing, even though they were on so many medications. And that's what kind of led me down the whole business path and starting my own company, Dr. Peacefully. So I started it mainly as a passion project just to like help others along with helping myself. Because I'm really into fitness, like you mentioned, but I also have a busy, hectic life where sometimes I'm really stressed out. And so I was looking for something natural that could just help with my stress, help me with recovering after a workout, help me get a good night's rest. And that's how I stumbled onto CBD. So I started Dr. Peace Lily mainly with CBD products, and it one thing just led to another. But a few years in, I found myself being so busy running the company and working full time as a pharmacist, where I was like, oh, I kind of have to choose which way I want to go. And I just decided to follow my heart and take that leap of faith. Uh, and so I quit my pharmacist job. I started running Dr. Seuss really full time. And at that time, I was like, well, now I can move anywhere. Nothing's holding me back like a job isn't. And so at the same time, I also moved to California from Michigan.
I love that. So the whole story is like super fascinating, kind of fascinating to me. I've sort of seen a little bit of it when you talked about it on Instagram. So I just love when you said, you decide to follow your heart and follow your passion and see where it goes, right? Because I think that's
Yeah.
a lot of the time what you have to do. You don't know where it's going to end up, like where you will be or where this path is going to go, but you just have to trust yourself, right?
Yes, yes. And it's one of those things where a lot of people are scared to take that leap of faith, especially because it's so unconventional. And if you're Bangladeshi or if you're, just from any ethnic background, I feel like that risk taking isn't encouraged in our household either. Like our parents are always so against it. They're like, no, stick to your stable 9 to 5 job.
Yes, exactly. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I want to talk about that, right? Because especially coming from a Bangladeshi or South Asian or a lot of ethnic backgrounds, right? Is we're
Mhm.
not taught to be entrepreneurial and risk taking, especially as either immigrants or first generations, right, in
Mhm.
North America, right? Because I think
Yeah.
when our parents came here, they came with the okay, we're gonna stability, right? Stability,
Yes.
pack
Yes.
and boots, have a great paying job. Let's have the white picket fence house, build your wealth, retire, right? Like that's the sort of
Yeah.
what was expected of us. That's what they know. So for people from that background, it is harder to sort of, be like, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to just take a risk, right? So how did your community, your family, were they supportive when you went to, quit your pharmacist job?
So my husband was really supportive. He was like, "Yeah, do whatever you want to do, follow your passion." So that was amazing to have a supportive partner. Now my mom wasn't as supportive because she was like, "I want to tell my friends that my daughter is a pharmacist. I don't want to tell them that she's a businesswoman. Like, what's that, a businesswoman, right?" And so for my mom, it was really hard to wrap her mind around it because she saw me struggling and working so hard for 8 years to get my doctorate degree. And now that I had this doctorate degree and this really nice job, she's like, you're gonna just leave it behind for what? And so she wasn't as supportive. But having my husband's support was enough for me. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just do it because at the end of the day, my mom's not paying any of my bills. So it's like, Mom, like I respect your opinion, but you're not paying my bills. So I don't think you have that much of a say in what I do with my career.
Correct. Absolutely. And that's what earlier this morning when I was like sort of thinking about our conversation where I was going to go and, what we're going to dive into. That's one of the things I was thinking of too, like as Bangladeshi or South Asian people, especially women too. I think especially even like, we already don't have a risk-taking mentality and women more so. We're not encouraged or, it's not embedded in us. Like one mindset that comes up a lot is like, well, what will people think? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What will people think? What will they say? Right? I'm supposed to be this XYZ. How am I
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be something else? I can be ABC, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing. Like your mom said that. So, but you were like, they're not gonna pay my bills. And not just your mom, but even just your family, friends, and all that
Yeah.
stuff that gets in the way, right? Like in our mind, they don't pay your bills.
Yes. So they have no say. That's just
Yes.
like my mentality.
Exactly. They have no say if they, and if, and I think most of the time is they're probably also sort of looking for someone to go and do it in a different way. So they can also find that boldness and that bravery to also try
Mhm.
something else, right? Like they're
Yeah.
be like, no, oh my gosh, whatever. Maybe they'll say that. But at the end of the day, if you do something that's like pretty out of the box, they might be like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So now, like a lot of those naysayers find me really cool. But in the beginning, I think they were very like pessimistic, or they weren't sure if I was making the right decision. But now that, I this summer it's gonna be 3 years of me working on Dr. Peace Relief full time and being a full on entrepreneur because, you know, um right now I'm running Dr. Peace Relief full time, but I'm also doing a lot of rental stuff. I don't know if you're aware, but I'm really into like real estate investing. And so I have like property. So I'm running all of that full time now. And so people that now see where I am, and what the last 3 years did for me by me taking these risks and like focusing on entrepreneurship, they're like, okay, that's really cool. That's something now I want to do.
Yes, exactly. And that's sort of what, trailblazers do, right? They sort of blaze the trail and then other
Yeah.
people get on that trail, right? They're like, oh, I think I can also follow in the trail that Najifa or other trailblazers have taken, right? And that's
Hmm.
kind of conversation I love having and the people I love talking to because it's just like they're doing something different. They're not just following
Yeah.
the same tried and true path, right? So, okay, so on this note now, like I'm sure there were lots of obstacles in your way. There always is when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? Here it's
Hmm.
even a little bit more because of, how we were raised, etc. But there's real obstacles, like not real, but in real life obstacles, like I
Hmm.
don't know, funding or financial, whatever. And
Hmm.
there's also the mindset obstacles.
Of course.
So do you want to maybe tell me about it, some if you're willing to share some of the main ones?
Yeah. So I guess I'll share a little bit of both, right? Like the actual tangible obstacles of being a business owner. So with Dr. Peacefully, like I mentioned, I really focus on CBD products because I just fell in love with how CBD works in our body. And a lot of people don't realize that our body, it makes its own CBD, its own cannabinoids. So it's called endocannabinoids. So endo meaning being within, and CBD from the plant, right? It's not, it's just called cannabinoids.
Oh, wow.
So with starting a business in the CBD space, I had so many hurdles because CBD became federally legal in 2018. So it's like a new thing that just became federally legal, and the government and all of these organizations that um like sets the legislation and the rules, they don't even understand what CBD is because they just club CBD with THC.
Marijuana.
And
They just call it that.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, they just think it's marijuana, where that's so far from the
Yeah.
case because THC, it alters your mind. It does get you high, but CBD has no mind altering properties.
Yeah.
And so when you take CBD, you're taking it for a medicinal purpose. You're not taking it to get high. Like it just doesn't do that. But unfortunately, because all of the agencies that set the rules, right, that for like, okay, who can even open a bank? Because um, if you have, let's just say a marijuana business, a lot of banks don't want you to open a bank account with them. If
Wow.
you have a marijuana business, you can't even process payments online. So, for example, when you go on, let's just say Sephora.com, or if you go on my website right now, drpeacefully.com, when you put in your credit card information, there's a third party processor in the background that processes that payment and then gets it into your bank. So a lot of those processors don't even want to deal with CBD companies because again, they think it's marijuana.
Right.
And so I had a really hard time just setting up the business and setting up the foundation that a typical business owner would not have to think about twice. So those were like a lot of hard obstacles I had to face, especially because Dr. Peacefully was like my first business. And
Mm.
so it's not like I already knew how to do this. So I'm figuring it out and then I'm having all these obstacles on top. So
Yeah,
that was yeah, really difficult.
just I think figuring it out as you go, right? You're saying, a lot of
Yeah.
people, oh, I don't know everything. I have to learn it all before I fully go in. And I
Yeah.
actually like to call it like you're just buying time. You're just
Yeah.
fascinating, trying, you're just not, not doing something. So I love how you said you were just figuring it out as you went on. You didn't know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing I think about entrepreneurship, or if you're a trailblazer, right? It's not about knowing everything in the beginning. It's having that mindset that everything's figure outable. I am going to figure it out as I go along. Like I have enough faith in myself to just get it done at the end of the day. And I think that's the mindset that you really have to have when you're an entrepreneur because there's so many things that you do not know and you're like constantly learning.
Exactly. And you said that you just have to like trust yourself, to have faith in yourself. So there's so many of us, right, who say, I want to, start a business, or I want to write a book, or I want to start a podcast, or I want to create content on Instagram, something really
Hmm.
simple, right? And they
Hmm.
hold themselves back and they say, oh, I don't have, and if you dig in a bit more, they don't have that faith in themselves, that they don't
Yeah.
trust themselves yet, right? So
Hmm.
what do you say for people like that, like who, like as a lot of times as their friends or someone that them, you're like, of course you can do it. Like, what do you mean you don't have faith in yourself? Like, I see it, right?
Yeah.
As their
Hmm.
friend or their champion or their cheerleader, you see it. But then themselves,
Hmm.
that's all in their head, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a mindset, and you
Mm.
have to shift your mindset from, thinking that you're not capable and having doubts to literally just saying it out loud, I can do it, I can figure it out. And I think another big thing that holds people back is just like thinking about what others will say or think. Because, starting a business, a lot of people, they are just like, afraid. Like, what if I start this business and my high school friends find out, blah, 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 but then it fails, right? They already feel the embarrassment or that shame, and there's nothing to be embarrassed or shameful about, even if your business fails. It's the fact that you had the courage to start it, to try it, like, that's amazing.
It's amazing. And it's already like so much like three steps ahead of people who haven't tried anything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So why should you even care about these people that haven't tried anything? Like, their
Exactly.
opinions are irrelevant.
So relevant. Exactly. They haven't tried anything. So, worrying about what they will think, or the fear of the judgment, right? There's a fear
Yeah.
of failure and there's a fear of judgment. Like if I put myself out there, what will people say? Like I don't want to be judged by, like you said, your high school friends or this person that I worked with 8 years ago. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. They haven't done it at all. You have the courage to try something. So yeah. So yeah, I love that you touched upon that the mindset is the most important. And I'm sure
Yeah.
as you believe in yourself, that people around you, like you said, also start believing in you more as well, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's really important to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs and like-minded individuals because when you have other friends that own their own business, they're taking risks, right? And then they're sharing with you their struggles or their obstacles, then you don't feel as lonely and you feel like, okay, if someone else can overcome these obstacles, or even if their business knocks them down, but they're able to get back up, or if their business really took off, they're successful, it just gives you that like encouragement that you can do it too, and the end goal will be okay.
Yeah, exactly. So all of the fear, surrounding yourself with people, that is so key, right? Because
Mhm.
absolutely, I think we all need that to like what we've heard that you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with.
Yes. Yes.
And that totally applies because if you're
Yes.
seeing other people around you always up leveling and trying new things,
Mhm.
you also want to up level and try new things because that's what you know, right?
Yeah, and you get that courage, like just from seeing others doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Also,
that's definitely.
yeah. Yeah, and I also
Yeah.
heard that it also applies to income as well. The other day I was listening to another podcast or something on Instagram that it also applies to income. Like you also make your level of income that you make is almost the average of the four or five people that you surround yourself with. So if they're all
Oh
making
yeah.
$50,000 a year, then you'll also,
Yeah.
if they're making $300,000 a year, you'll make around there too, which is also very,
Yeah, no, that's no, it's so true. And you know what? I always, so like I mentioned, I moved from Michigan to California.
yeah.
And when I moved here, I was talking to one of my mentors. He's like a multi-millionaire, super successful, and he's in Michigan. And I was telling him, yeah, I want to move to California because I want to surround myself with people that are doing things greater than I am, that are way more wealthier and smarter. And he was like, no, I personally don't like that because he lived in New York City before. He was like, I'd rather be a big fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond. So like I
Mhm.
said, he's a multimillionaire, so successful, and he's so happy with living in Michigan because in Michigan there isn't like a lot of successful people compared to California and New York.
Yeah.
And my mindset is like, no, I want to get out of California because yeah, while all my friends were in, STEM majors, they were all making between 100 to 200,000, which is great. But I just had like bigger ambitions for myself. I'm like, I want to push myself to move to California, and I moved to Orange County, which is even more expensive than Los Angeles. People are so rich here. It's just unbelievable. But living here, I just completed 2 full years of living here. Living here for 2 full years, I have definitely noticed like my mindset shifting. So, for example, when I lived in Michigan, I could never imagine buying a house that was $1 million. When I moved to California, I basically bought a house that was almost $1 million. And it's like that mindset shifted because everyone around me owned a house and all these houses were $1 million to begin with. So it's like, yeah. And now that I'm here for 2 years and I see all these other houses, I'm like, yeah, I can afford a house that's $3 million. But like that thought would have never crossed my mind if I lived in Michigan because all the houses, the most they cost were maybe 500,000 around me. Like there was nothing above that.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm just sidebar. I'm thinking of the Canadian real estate market right now, and it's just
Yeah.
nothing is less than like 900,000, no matter where you go. I'm just like,
Yeah.
maybe I should go buy a house.
Well, don't come to California. If you go to
No,
Michigan, you can definitely find a house for way cheaper, but not California.
no, I'm definitely not planning to go to Michigan. Maybe
Yeah.
California. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, definitely that's wild though, right? That I loved how you were like, I'll just go to California where real estate is obviously the most expensive. I know people who've moved away from California because they're like, it costs too much to live in California. I love how you're like,
Yeah.
well, I am gonna go there. And not just in anywhere California, right? There's like different places in
Yeah.
California. You're like, I'm gonna go to Orange County, which is like
Yeah.
more expensive than other places in LA. So props to you. I love that. Like you trusted that it's gonna happen. Like you're gonna put yourself there and it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out. And that's the thing that I also noticed about Orange County specifically. Everyone honestly becomes, I don't want to, like, I don't know if the word hustler is the right word, but like everyone kind of has that hustler mindset and mentality because you have to survive and make it in Orange County. And so then your mindset shifts where you're always thinking, how can you work harder or smarter to like make more money or be more successful? Then, because then it's like, I don't know how to, it's just, I don't know how to describe it, but it's such an interesting phenomenon. Like living here, like literally, I feel like everyone is a hustler or they figure out how to generate more income to
Yeah.
sustain themselves and make this a livable place.
Yeah, like they're more entrepreneurial. Like you said, they're working smarter, not just working harder, right? Like
Mhm.
you could have worked in your pharmacy job like for the longest time, work hard, hard, hard. But if it's like, but is it going to give you the same level of scaling your income, scaling your potential in your life, career, all of that stuff? But you realize that no,
Yeah.
I have my own business. If I just do my own thing, then it's endless, it's limitless, right? There's no ceiling to it.
Yes, yes, there's no ceiling. And of course with entrepreneurship, it sounds great on paper. Like, there's no ceiling to how much income you can make. But of course there are a lot of struggles that you have to face
Uh-huh.
when you are an entrepreneur. And I think it's just being like nimble and fast on your feet, trying to like figure out, even because I have friends that are entrepreneurs and they had to like go back and get a 9 to 5 temporarily because they couldn't fundraise, or they were self-funding their company and they were running out of money. And so they're like, it's okay, I'll go back and get a 9 to 5 for 6 months or a year to make enough money to fund myself. I think just like being flexible and fluid with like how to get to your end goal is so important.
Exactly. I think that so many things in life is that you have to be flexible. You have to be adaptable. You can't just be like, this is the only way I
Yeah.
know possible. No, that's not it. Especially
Yeah.
nowadays, right? I think 30, 40 years ago, maybe those options didn't exist. But now the options in the world are endless. It's so open.
Yeah.
You can have a 9 to 5 job and you can have another part-time job. And you can have have full-time job, you can have a business. You can have a full-time business,
Yeah.
side hustle. You can have like unlimited permutations and combinations, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for
Online,
sure.
in person, like it's just wild. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about talking to people who are doing it and encouraging other people to also sort of like try it out, try something new.
Yeah.
Get in your head, don't sit on it. Don't let your ideas and your passions just like rot in your brain.
Yes, yes. And just like what I did, so many people can do, like have a 9 to 5 and start a business on the side and like grow that business while you're working your 9 to 5. And when it gets to a really good place, then you can decide to quit like I did and continue. So it doesn't have to be this a very scary thing where just one day you quit your job and you're a full-time entrepreneur. Like you can take it slowly like I did. Like there's so many different paths of being a trailblazer or being an entrepreneur. It's like all about just listening to what feels right.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So, okay, so as we sort of wrap up a bit more, um, what would you like? What are some thoughts, some advice you want to give people who are we see like some last few like takeaways that you want to give people who are maybe, have some thoughts in their heads. They're like, oh, I kind of want to do this. I want to either
Mhm.
start a business or start like a YouTube channel or whatever, really, right? Like but I'm
Mhm.
not really sure if I can do it. I'm kind of scared of like looking stupid. I
Hmm.
don't want to be cringe.
Yeah.
Lose my friends because they think I'm dumb. Things like that. Like what do you have?
Yeah. Okay, I have two pieces of advice to share. So first of all, I already touched on this, but surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to do. And so even if you don't know these people in real life, with the internet right now, with social media, it's so possible. So for example, I really so I've always posted on social media. I just love content creating, but I never really took it seriously. I never had a good strategy for my personal page. Like I put a lot of thought behind Dr. Peace Lily and Dr. Peace Lily's Instagram and TikTok. But when it came to my personal, I didn't. But a few months ago, I was like, I want to take content creating seriously because I have so much like knowledge and tips that I want to share with others. Because my biggest philosophy or like something I live by is when the tide rise, all the boats are going to rise. And so if I'm rising, if I'm winning, I want my friends to win with me, right? Like I don't want to be the only one making $1 million a year if my friends are making 100,000. Like that
Yes,
doesn't feel right. I want them to make 1 million.
I
And
love
so I took
that.
content.
I love that when you said
Yeah,
that thing that you said, like when I rise, the tide rises, all the boats are gonna rise. I love that. That's cool. That's a
exactly.
metaphor in my head.
Yeah, so that's seriously like a philosophy that I live by. And so I was like, I need to take content creating seriously because I have so many tips I want to share with others, especially immigrants, because I'm an immigrant. I was born in Bangladesh. I moved here when I was 7, females, minorities. I want to share all my tips with others so they can also rise with me, especially when it comes to building wealth and health. So like my whole tagline on Instagram is helping others become healthier and wealthier. And so when I started sharing a lot of tips on how to become wealthier, I noticed that people were really, really appreciating the value I was putting out there. And so for anyone else that, like, for example, wants to start content creating, follow accounts that are already doing something similar to what you want to do and like take inspiration from that. Or if you want to start a YouTube channel, for example, and I also recently launched a YouTube channel, I started consuming videos that were in line with what I want to do, and I started really analyzing it because it's really different when you're just watching YouTube, right? If you don't want to start a channel, you're just watching it, taking in the content. But it's different when you put on a different lens and you're viewing a YouTube channel as a creator yourself. Like, okay, what did they do right here? Like this transition, their intro, their outro. So just like follow people, like I said, on social media and examine what's working for them. And then you can kind of make your own recipe, like tweak it and make your own recipe and make it even better than theirs. So that's like the main tip that I will, I'll encourage anyone and everyone to do. And then the other thing is to like get a mentor if you can. And I know it's hard to get mentors because people are so busy. Um, but you can find a mentor in business and there are free websites. Like, so if anyone's listening, if you guys want to start a business, for example, there are nonprofit organizations that's like government funded, for example, called score.org. And they will give you a free mentor. So usually a lot of these people are like retired, they've been in business or they've been in corporate America and they have like special talents and skill set that maybe you're looking for, someone that can help you with marketing, someone that can help you with scaling, someone that can maybe help you with franchise. Because some people want to start a franchise, that's their business goals. So anyways, find a mentor, like through these free organizations, go to like clubs in your area, figure out what your like startup ecosystem is, where you live, and find someone that can kind of help you out. So I think those are the two biggest tips I can share for anyone that wants to become an entrepreneur.
I love that. And I think my final question for you, Najifa, is actually, no, I lied. Second to final question. Second to final question is, what does bold-hearted mean to you?
Mm. I think bold-hearted honestly means to me just following your heart, like just doing what feels right. And maybe because I'm very intuitive, I know like not everyone is as intuitive as me, but I'm very intuitive. I'm like, I can always sense energy in the air. And so I try to go inward and ask myself what feels right and doing what feels right and just like tuning out all the noise, all the distractions around you, all the naysayers or, people that you might be afraid of what their thoughts or opinions are, and just listening to what is the best for you. And, one of the things that really helps me to be bold is to journal, is to literally journal about my thoughts and my feelings. And I get so much clarity. And then I can take action on what truly feels right.
I love that. I love that. Like being, doing what feels right, following that call in your heart, being intuitive, trusting your voice, right? To be
Hmm.
intuitive and then being bold, whether it's journaling, whether it's what you said earlier, telling yourself, I can do it, right? And
Hmm.
going,
The affirmations.
yes,
Seriously, like look at yourself in the mirror and just say, I can do this.
exactly.
Like
Oh my
saying it
God.
out loud is so powerful.
Once for affirmations, once a while ago, like I think I was going through like a tough time a few years ago, and I was like, I need to like, I was doing all these things to build myself back up, right? And I used to like write little post-it notes, okay?
Yeah.
And I put them on my bathroom mirror, like all around it, because I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
what is one person I'm gonna be every day, at least once a day. I was
Yeah.
like twice a day because I was brushing my teeth in the morning, so I would just like
Yeah.
even if you're not like, if I'm not saying it because I'm like, I don't feel good, I feel like, ugh,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
start reading it, you're like, okay, so subconsciously, you're sort of like programming those thoughts in your head, even if you're just brushing your teeth in the morning and at night. And then I think
Yes.
those, like, I don't know, really helped because it's just in your mind, it's just like making that little rewrite of the story.
Yeah, you're rewiring your brain and how your neurons literally like think and connect.
Correct. Exactly. So journaling, those affirmations, talking to yourself, all of those really help. Talking to yourself in that way, right?
Yeah.
Like hyping yourself up, those really help. So no, I think this is
Yeah.
a great conversation, Najifa. So I want to, once again, thank you for being here. And if people want to find you on Instagram, YouTube, or wherever on the web, where can they find you?
Yeah, so all my handles are the same for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. It's just Najifa.Choudhury. So it's Najifa.Choudhury. And if anyone wants to check out my business or if they need any supplements for sleep, pain, or anxiety, my business is Dr. Peacefully. So my website is just drpeacepeacefully.com.
Awesome. And I will, for everyone here who's listening, I will link all of that information in the show notes as well. So no worries if you're not writing it down, guys, but you will find
Yeah.
it. But yes,
Well,
thanks so
thank you
much,
so
Atiba.
much.
Yeah, this was
Yes, no, thank you.
um